dance for joy.
Welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics, a series where we drive nostalgic cars that are over 15 years old, but are normally sensible and practical, that you can buy for budgets between £1,000 and £5,000. This is a 1983 Austin Ambassador 2-litre HL. Yes, it's a Y-Reg, but is it a car that you should revere? Well, don't keep on asking me why, Reg. It just happens to be that year. So the Austin Ambassador is a really interesting car. They're very rare these days. We'll get into a bit later on the some numbers of these that are left on the road. But it was a development of the Princess, which had been launched back in '75 as the Austin Morris and Wolseley 18 to 22 series, I think, to give it its sort of full title. What happened is that the Maestro and Montego were in development in the late 70s, and they were meant to be launched right at the start of the next decade, but they weren't ready, particularly the Montego. So rather than just leaving the Princess as it was, British Leyland, and then later Austin Rover, decided to substantially re-engineer the Princess. The only panels that are the same as the Princess on an Ambassador are the doors. I think even it might only be the front doors. So absolutely entirely reclad car, very similar engineering to the Princess, using similar engines apart from the 6-cylinder, which wasn't used in Ambassador. So bottom of the range was a 1.70 series engine, which is also used in things like the Maestro and Montego, albeit not exactly in this configuration. That developed 82 horsepower, and if you're looking at the cars that were used in the series that Graham Fellows as John Shuttleworth used, there are two 83 Ambassadors used, both 1.7Ls in beige, I think. The one used in 500 bus stops is a GPP 649Y. That car was scrapped, not just in the narrative of the programme, but also it's disappeared. There was a second one as well, which I think is XJU 322Y, that was used in It's Nice Up North 9 years after 500 bus stops in 2006. I think that car's still around. They both seem to be wearing like Maestro public wheel trims. Above the 1.7 was this single carb 2-litre. I think the rarest version of the engines, was just the one car, generating 92 horsepower. There's also a twin carb version that was used in Van der Pla, and I think the HLS as well, which got 100 horsepower. So we've got power steering in this car, which is nice, and it's actually reasonably easy to drive. Brakes are good. It makes the same kind of transmission noise as the Princess did as well, which is good. Just to say that I know Ian Seabrook from Hubnut has driven two Ambassadors. When I filmed the Princess in 2022, it was raining. It's now 2024 and it's raining again, but we shall continue. Front end of the Ambassador is quite different from the Princess. The bonnet line is actually significantly lower because they didn't need to put the 6-cylinder in it. So the wipers are quite exposed actually, and you can see there's a black portion of the bottom of the screen to sort of disguise the fact that actually it's exactly the same size as the Princess screen. Morris Italia headlamps, I think, on this. We've only got the HL spec, so unlike the sort of Van der Pla models, we haven't got alloy wheels or anything, but it looks good. The car had a respray about 12 years ago. There are some sort of bits which aren't perfect at it now. It probably does need doing again at some point, but actually, overall, this car is in very good condition. Go round to the back. The biggest change actually over the Princess is the fact we've got not only a hatchback, but a rear wiper as well. The Princess really should have been a hatchback from day one, or as it was launched in '75, the Austin and Morris and Wolseley 18 to 22 series, I think they call them. The later management said no, the Maxi is the only hatchback in the range apart from the SD1, which is coming soon. So the Princess needed to be a saloon. You could get a tall cars conversion for the Princess to make a hatchback, but in '82 when this came out, all of them were hatchback. Open up the boots. It's actually really practical. I mean, the cell's not as high as some cars of the era. We've got sort of rather homemade parcel shelf here, but the previous owner actually did himself. It's quite sturdy. Spare wheel lives over there. The boot floor on this car is actually in really good condition. The carpet's okay. If you lift this little bit up here, you can see that you can store the tools down there as well, which is nice. So yeah, actually, if you want your family luggage in here, you sort of be looking between this and maybe like a Sierra possibly. Although Sierra's rear-wheel drive, this is front-wheel drive. But yeah, you can easily get your sort of stuff in here. It's quite high though, you're quite tall to reach top of that. Right, I just need to, I think, switch the lights off, and then we'll have a look at the interior. Yeah, so I don't want to get stranded here. So side windows, unlike the Princess, are in actually the C-pillars as well, which makes reversing this car and manoeuvring it really, really easy. Doors are big. Much more space in here than, say, like a Cortina, which would have been a typical family car when these were launched in '82. Princess was big as well. It's nice and comfy. This is actually a Van den Pla interior. I know it's an HL, but this has been put in by Michael, who owns this car. I just noticed we've got ashtray action going on here. Oh yes, you get one each side. Only windy windows. You needed to get a Van den Pla if you wanted electric windows in the front. But very, very airy and comfortable. You can imagine, you know, taking people on quite long journeys. I can imagine actually this would be quite good as like a taxi or something. Yeah, I definitely like this Van den Pla interior. If I can get this armrest out. No, that's stuck. Oh. No, we'll just leave that there. Yeah, it's got rear seat belts in here, which I don't know if they were an option or something. A lot of cars, they were optional at the time. Yes, it's very nice actually. I quite like this. It's very easy to get in and out as well. That's really easy. So get in the front. Dashboard for the Ambassador was new for 1982. It's not the same as the old Princess dashboard. It's a very typical dashboard of this era. It's actually a metal frame dashboard with vinyl covering. It reminds me of things like, I don't know, a Mark I Golf or something like that. Obviously, these do tend to crack. This is actually a replacement dash. The other one has sort of cracked at the top a little bit, but it's not the metal that's cracking. It's not a plastic dash. It's actually a metal one. So that's just a sort of trim that goes on the top. We've got the light switch in here. It's similar to, I think, a Metro from the early days. Choke, manual choke, and then the lights for the full beam on here. The horn, we're not going to test that, and the wipers over here. Rear wipers actually down there, and we've got controls for the fog lamps. We haven't got front fog lamps in this. That's very strange. I think that's a rear wash wipe. Rear heated window is down here, and then the hazard lights. No Ambassadors came with rev counter, which is a bit disappointing. But the Princess 2000 HLS that I drove in 2022 didn't have a rev counter either. So you know, it's not the end of the world. We've got a surprise in here, the glove box. Oh my gosh. What has happened is the previous owner of this car actually took the trim out of the glove box, and Michael has replaced it with something else. I don't think the secret mission documents are going in there, viewers, but never mind. Got a compartment there, it's like a coin tray, and we've got the original U-part stereo in here as well. Amazing. There's actually a key for the aerial, but I'm not going to fiddle with that today. Digital clock in the middle, that actually works and shows the correct time, which I'm really happy about. And then we've got some controls, heating, ventilation, but pretty simple actually. There's not really a lot to say. 4-speed manual. You could get an automatic Ambassador as well. There weren't any available with the 5-speed gearbox. There wasn't a 5-speed gearbox for these cars, but you do notice when you're driving this that the gearing is quite high anyway, so it's not too bad. Normal handbrake. That grip looks like a Metro handbrake, doesn't it? Then some nice long door pockets. When I personally prefer the Van den Pla. The later Van den Plas actually did get some wood inserts on the dash as well, which would be nice. But yeah, I mean, because these cars are so unbelievably rare, I think it's something like less than 20 are on the road. There are a lot more on Sawn, but in terms of ones on the road, I think it's less than 20, which is utterly crazy to me. It's one of the rarest cars I think I've ever driven in that respect. Right, let us have a look under the bonnet. Ooh, there's a little, see, that's a sort of fresh air thing there. Wonderful. Yeah, let's have a look under the bonnet. So, a 2-litre O series engine, similar to the one used in the Montego that I drove recently, but a completely different configuration because the gearbox is actually underneath the engine in the sump. They share the same oil, sort of almost kind of linked back to cars designed by Alekis Sigonis. Very spacious in here. I mean, obviously you couldn't get the 6-cylinder engines of these that Princess had. You couldn't actually get those. Only the 4-cylinder, so the bonnet line is a bit lower. Done a pig around 92 horsepower with this single carburettor. A lot of the 2 litres were twin carb as well, but this is just a single carb. See the brake is right in front of you, which is good. Brakes are fine. So yeah, it looks easy enough to work on, apart from the fact you've got to remember the gearbox is underneath the engine, shares the same oil. Yeah, it's so much space under here in comparison to a modern car, isn't there? Wonderful. And got the Austin Rover logo and halogen lamps. Fantastic. Right, I think it's time to shut the bonnet, which makes a really loud noise. Wow, break my neighbours with that. And take it out for another spin. So yes, the Ambassador, they sold about 45,000 of them between 82 and 84. It was only in production for 2 years, exactly 2 years, March 82 to March 84. And they didn't sell them anywhere for left-hand drive, it was right-hand drive only. So the marketing decisions are perplexing. You couldn't get a rev counter on any version. You could only get electric windows on the top model, and you couldn't get a 5-speed manual gearbox. With some, I think, more development and, you know, a bit more of kind of, I don't know, sort of love for the products, they could have probably sold a few more of these. And if they'd even actually put the hatchback on the Princess a bit earlier, they might have sold more of those as well. But I really enjoyed it. Waiting so long to drive one of these. I'm so grateful to Michael, who has been loving and caring for this car. He's done a lot of work to the engine, and he's replaced the interior and things. This car's still not finished. It is a bit of a project, but it's so rare. It's just wonderful. I don't think this is a bad car at all. I know the styling looks like a facelift of a Princess, and you know, there are probably better cars out there at the time, but I really like this. I think this car is really comfortable, it's really charming, and I can see why John Shuttleworth liked it, because I like it too. And I know the Van der Pla version somebody owns, and I'm looking at that in a completely different way now. So viewers, should you consider an Austin Ambassador, possibly a Y-Reg one, as a sensible second-hand classic for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000? Well, the question's kind of academic because there are so few of these actually left. But I like it. I've quite enjoyed myself, actually, and I've waited about 5 years to drive one of these. And yes, it is a car that I revere. Thank you very much indeed once again for watching. Thank you to Michael for allowing me to fulfill an ambition. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for some more reasonably priced, nostalgic motoring.
Dance for joy.